Hello, Tony Davis here with another installment of my videos where I briefly comment on my latest newsletter article. And this month, my article was called What Can You Count On? So there were three elements that I explored in this article, and I'll review them for you today. For those of you watching. The first one, the thing that you can count on is trust. And this might be a curious choice because a lot of times people come into couples therapy because trust has been betrayed. So, what kind of trust am I talking about? I'm not talking about the kind of trust where you trust that your partner is never going to be attracted to someone, or even that they're never going to have sex with someone, or that they're never going to lie to you. It's the trust that you and your partner will always put the relationship needs first. I take this idea from Stan Tatkin and his work because the reason why it can be so powerful is that it's not trusting in another person's behavior independent of what the relationship needs, or trusting that your behavior is always going to be in the best interest of the relationship. But if you put the relationship first, that is something that you both can commit to 100% of the time because the relationship serves both of you. And when it thrives, so will each of you. So, what does that look like? An example. Let's say that somebody is actually wanting to have sex with somebody outside of the relationship. So if they put the relationship needs first, what they might conclude is that the relationship needs for this to be talked about. And the way that you talk about it is you might say, hey, we've been together for 20 years. We have kids that are grown. We have different interests, but we really are best friends. But our sex drive for each other has diminished. How do I know? We haven't had sex in a year. I would love to explore somebody new sexually as a way to understand my own erotic life and where it is today. I also just feel better about myself. Um, and I feel that I would be a better partner if I no longer um, expected you to be the only one to fulfill this need. The relationship will benefit because I will be more in touch with my erotic needs. I'll have less expectations on you, and I'll generally be happier. So that's an example I like to use because most people, when they have an urge to have sex with others, they do it in secret, and that never goes well. That certainly is not putting the relationship needs first. The second element that I look at is that you can count on is the self. Um, and what I mean by this is you you can count on your intuitive knowing. Some might call this their higher self, um, their wise adult, their inner knowing. And for those of you who are Buffy the Vampire fans, as I was back in the day, there's a great scene where Buffy, who is the vampire slayer, is getting her butt kicked by Angel, who is a vampire in this episode. And all of her friends desert her or are not available. And she's utterly alone. And Angel knocks the sword out of her hand and has her backed into a corner. And he basically says, you got no one. Your friends are gone. Your watcher's gone. Um, you got nothing. And he goes to thrust the sword into her, and she catches it with both her hands, very dramatic, and stops it. And she says, I got me. And the fight's back on. And I've always remembered that moment, even 30 years later, if it's been that long, because I don't think it takes being backed into a corner by a vampire with a sword in order to recognize that you always have your intuitive knowing. And this will serve you greatly. It doesn't dictate your actions, it simply informs them. And the best way to develop your intuitive knowing are by using mindfulness practices, meditation, yoga, journaling, walks, um, therapy. Um, it's that part of you that is connected to your body's wisdom. And if you get quiet, you'll hear it. Um, this intuitive knowing leads you to the answers that your thinking brain won't necessarily come up with. And the final element that I explored in this article that you can count on is your ability to self-regulate. But you can only count on it if you've developed it. So this is all part and parcel of the intent on having emotional maturity. And one of the key components of emotional maturity is being able to regulate yourself. So what does that mean? Um, that when you're upset or in danger, that you have both sides of your brain online, your right and your left brain, that you are able to feel what you feel, but still talk about it. If you can't talk about what you're feeling, you're usually in a state of dysregulation. And that means that your thinking brain is not available to you and you're concerned with one thing only, and that's protecting yourself. So if you work on self-regulation, you can count on it. You know that no matter what happens, you're going to stay in the game, um, which means you're going to be present for what's actually happening in front of you. And when we're present for what's happening in front of us, we have the best chance of actually responding to that rather than something that happened 40 years ago when we were 10 years old. So, this is why self regulation is critical in individual and couples work. It's the gateway to any progress. These days, self regulation is on short supply. People are lacking patience. They are using drugs and alcohol, which decrease our ability to regulate. Um, they are going after immediate rewards and instant gratification, which causes them to feel a great deal of dysregulation when they don't get what they want when they want it. So I would encourage you, if you want to work on self-regulation, to make your life a little uncomfortable. Wait at that stop sign or that stoplight, even though everybody else is crossing. Practice patience. Don't make everything easy for yourself. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself and that you're not abusing drugs or alcohol or prescription medications. Rely on yourself because, as they say at the end of the day, that's what you can count on. This is Tony Davis. Until next time, thank you for watching.